Hello, ladies. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's summit, the Fearless Women of Faith Summit. We are so excited to have you join us today. If you are joining us on YouTube, please put down below this video where you're joining us from, put in the comments, or if you're joining us on a Facebook profile somewhere, do the same thing because we want to know who you are. We want to give you a shout out, and we're going to be watching the comments here afterwards as well. Well, today is a power packed day because we have fearless women speakers who are going to share with you stories of how God used different things in their life to help them overcome obstacles, to come to a place where they can stand in confidence and courage to release their voice, own their story, and communicate with impact because God is on the move. Do you know that? God is on the move. He's raising up his daughters to become fearless women of faith to impact society. Now, today's summit is called Fearless Women of Faith Speakers. It's all about helping you to break through barriers and embrace possibilities. So, you're going to discover inspiring stories, strategies, and insights to overcome obstacles so that you can step boldly into your God-given purpose. If we've never met before, my name is Lisa Vanderquack, and I'm going to be your host today, your MC, and I am well acquainted with this subject of fear. I don't know about you, but as a child, I grew up in an environment that was very fear-based. Let me know in the comments if that is true of you. And maybe you struggle with that today still. Well, I was so afraid that I wouldn't even use my voice until way into my 20s, until God got a hold of my life and began to show me that fear is not from him. Now, I know some of us tolerate fear. We play with it a bit, but I want you to know the scriptures say that God does not give us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of love and power and a sound mind. And sometimes we have a habit of fear because that's an environment we've grown up with. And God wants to renew your thinking, just as he just renewed my thinking, that you can step into situations and become fearless. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to feel a little nervous, but fear is not going to be tormenting you. And that's our goal, is to help you be free from fear so that you can fully embrace the call of God on your life. Is that all right? So if that's you and you want to hear how God worked in other women's lives and in this community of women, of faith-based, kingdom-minded women, then I want you to stay tuned because we also have a free gift for you. At the end, you will get a free gift from the person who invited you to this summit. So I'm so excited to introduce to you our first speaker today, who is Christine Locke. Now, Christine spent 20 years in the new age climbing the corporate ladder. She was chasing success, purpose, and identity, but a profound encounter with God changed everything. She left behind her career, her security, and everything she had, everything she'd worked to up to that point, to follow the call of God on her life, to raise up kingdom women who walk boldly in their God-given authority. And today, she's here to help you break barriers, step into fearless faith, and embrace the fullness of who God has called you to be. So please welcome to the stage, Christine Locke.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm very excited to be here today. So I have a question for you. Have you ever lied about your age, telling people that you were younger than you actually are? I have this friend, and one day while we were out shopping, we ran into some people and they asked her how old she was. Proudly, she said 65. I looked at her a little confused, and when we walked away, I asked, "Why did you tell them you were 65? You're only 56." She laughed and said, "I know, but did you hear what she said? She said that I was fabulous." I reminded her that she said, "You look fabulous for your age." And she said, "I know. She said that I look fabulous, and that makes me feel like $1,000,000. And I'm not going to lie. I've used this once or twice myself. But usually I was on the other end, usually telling people that I was younger than what I was. Why do you think it feels better to be admired for looking younger than to be celebrated for the wisdom, strength, and experiences that we've gained with age. Maybe it's not really about age. Maybe it's about something deeper. Maybe we struggle to admit who we really are because we've been conditioned to believe that who we are isn't enough. Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, it's never quite enough? Or have you ever felt like you had to prove your worth, to be smarter, more successful, or more put together just to be accepted? For many years, I hid who I was. I worked hard to become what the world wanted me to be, or what I thought the world wanted me to be. I climbed the corporate ladder. I became one with the universe. I spent my life striving, achieving, shaping myself into something that I thought was valuable. But no matter how much I accomplished, it never felt like enough. There was always another level of success, another book promising to fix me, another way to mold myself into what the world wanted, and I was tired. Have you ever felt like you needed to forfeit who you were just to fit in to who the world wants you to be? If you've ever felt like that, then I need you to hear this. That pressure you feel, that striving, that constant chase to be enough, it's not from God. It's a trap, a distraction designed to keep you from stepping fully into the person that God has created you to be. But what if it didn't have to be this way? What if the key to freedom wasn't in striving, but in surrender? True freedom doesn't come from finding yourself. It comes from surrendering to who God says you already are. I remember that moment when I finally told the truth about my age. It was a couple of days before my birthday, and I was standing in front of my employees, and one of them asked that dreaded question, "How old are you really?" For too long, I was avoiding the truth, not just about my age, but about who I was. But that day, something inside me shifted. Instead of dodging the question or making my usual joke, I just told the truth. I'm going to turn 50 in a couple of days. And the most surprising thing happened. I didn't feel ashamed. I didn't feel exposed. I just felt free. When you surrender to who God says you are, you stop running, you stop striving, and you step into the peace and power that you were meant to live in. And surrendering to my age was just the beginning. When you finally surrender to the truth of who you are, something shifts. For the first time, I wasn't striving. I wasn't pretending. I wasn't trying to be someone that I wasn't. And that surrender, it was preparing me for something I didn't even see coming. Because 6 months later, I had an encounter with God that changed everything. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. Luke 15:20. I had spent over 20 years in the new age, being one with God, being one with the universe, chasing spiritual truth, thinking that I was enlightened, believing I was walking in purpose, but I was deceived. God, in his mercy, pulled me out of the lies. He opened my eyes to the deception, and he called me home. And in that moment, everything I thought I knew came crashing down. The world says that you can create your own truth, but God says he is the truth. The world says, find yourself. God says, deny yourself and follow me. The world says you create your own reality. God says, I have already written your story. The world says, claim your power. God says, your power is not enough, but my power in you is unstoppable. The enemy says, you can be like God. God says, you are my daughter. Romans 8:15. The spirit you received does not make you slaves so that you live in fear again. Rather, the spirit you received brought about your adoption to sonship, and by him we cry, Abba, Father. The world says you are the master of your destiny. God says, I am the author and finisher of your faith. You don't need to manifest your destiny. You need to step into the purpose that God has already prepared for you. For we are God's masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand for us to walk in. Ephesians 2:20. And here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. The truth, it's already yours. The enemy isn't a problem for God. He's already been defeated. The only thing that he can do is to keep you from knowing the truth. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8:32. Once you know the truth, once you truly believe what God says about you, fear loses its grip, doubt fades, and you step into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you. He just needs to keep you distracted, discouraged, and doubting. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. John 10:10. The enemy has been using the same tactics since the Garden of Eden. He whispers the same lies. You are not enough. You're too much. You're too old. You're too young. You can never make a difference. His goal is to keep you small, to keep you questioning, to keep you from rising up in the authority God has already given to you. And if he can get you to question who God says you are, he can keep you from walking in your authority. But today, we are going to break those lies. Romans 8:37 says, no, in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. You are not weak. You are not small. You are not powerless. You are more than a conqueror. I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. Luke 10:19. You have already been given authority. The question is, will you walk in it? Because the only power the enemy has is the power that you give him. He doesn't want you to rise. But guess what? He doesn't really get a say. You've heard the truth. You know the enemy's tactics. You know that God has already given you authority to walk in freedom. So the question now is, what are you going to do about it? Because knowing the truth isn't enough. You have to walk in it. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. James 1:22. If you want to break free from fear, doubt, and the lies that have kept you stuck, you have to take action. And it starts with these 3 steps. 1, take every thought captive. In Corinthians, it says we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. The battle always starts in the mind. The enemy will plant a thought. I'm not good enough. I'll never be successful. I don't have what it takes. But just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean it's true. And I'm going to say that again. Just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean it's true. It's time to stop letting the enemy's lies take root in your heart. You have to recognize the lie, grab hold of it, and make it bow to the truth of God's word. So when the thought comes in, I am not enough, you respond with the truth. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. Your mind is a battlefield, but God has given you the power to win the war. Number 2, replace lies with God's truth. John 17:17 says, sanctify them by the truth. Your word is truth. Once you take the enemy's lies captive, you have to replace them with God's truth. You can't just remove a lie. You have to fill the space with what God says. If the enemy says you're too broken, God says, I heal the brokenhearted and bind up their wounds. Psalms 147, verse 3. If the enemy says you don't have what it takes, God says you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Philippians 4:13. The tongue has the power of life and death. Proverbs 18:21. The words that you speak over yourself matter. And it's time to start declaring God's truth over your life. And 3, surround yourself with a kingdom community. In Ecclesiastes, it says, 2 are better than 1. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. You were never meant to do this alone. The enemy isolates. God unites. One of the biggest mistakes we make is trying to figure out these battles and fight them in isolation. But freedom isn't just found in personal revelation, it's found in community. Let us not give up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encourage one another. Hebrews 10:25. You need people around you who will call you higher, who will remind you of God's truth when you forget, who will refuse to let you shrink back in fear. That's why we need kingdom women. Women who will speak life over each other, who will stand in the gap, who will hold each other accountable to the calling that God has placed in their lives. If you want to walk in freedom, you need to walk with other women who are running in the same direction. So today I want to ask you, which of these 3 steps do you need to take first? Do you need to start taking your thoughts captive and stop agreeing with the enemy? Do you need to start speaking God's truth over your life and replacing those lies with the word? Do you need to stop trying to do this alone and surround yourself with a kingdom community that will hold you accountable? The enemy has worked hard to keep you stuck, but today that changes. Today you rise. It's time. It's time to be bold. It's time to be courageous, and it's time to be free. Isaiah 60 verse 1 says, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." The only question left is, will you step forward? Because the world needs you, especially now. Your family needs you. Your community needs you. And more than anything, God is calling you. So take that step. Step into your authority. Step into your calling. And let's rise together. Thank you. Thank you, Lynn.
Yes, I'm muted. Hey, I was just saying there's so many nuggets in there that Christine was sharing. I hope you got a lot of that. You're going to want to go back and listen to the replay. One thing that stood out to me was she said, key to freedom is not in striving, but in surrender. And freedom comes in community. So if you're not in the community, we want to invite you to come into our community and be a part of this. So let me introduce to you our next speaker of the day, who is Fanny Vermes. And Fanny is passionate about helping people discover their authentic selves, equipping them to lead with compassion, purpose in how they care for people. She's a critical care nurse, mentor, and trainer, and her message is powerful. So let's welcome to the stage Miss Fanny Vermes. Come on up.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, friends. Wow, this is exciting to be here. Have you ever walked into a situation where you kind of just went, oh my gosh, how did I even get here? Do I even want to be here? I know I have many times over in my career and what's happened in my life. Lisa kind of said I'm a critical care nurse, and so many times I've walked into a scenario where I'm just like, I don't know if I really should even be here. I don't know if I have the skills. I don't know if I can do this, let alone trying to get my mind on what I need to get done. I don't know if I can even save this person's life. My name is Fanny Vermes, and I am passionate about seeing care in a different way. And I want to invite you into my world a little bit this morning, just for a few minutes, and just to wonder and ponder what care might look like for you. So there's, when we step into a situation and scenario where you kind of second guess who you are, whether you're really meant to be there, and even if you have the skills, here's the deal. I've been there so many times, because what you don't know is I'm actually a premature baby, born in a refugee camp. Nursing wasn't even a thing that I thought I was going to do. But God had a different plan. Instead of dying in the depths of a refugee camp, what the enemy wanted for my life, God said, you know, I've got a different plan for you. And here I am in this place to speak to you because I have overcome challenges over what should have been death for me. I am speaking life over people, and you can too. And here are some tools I want to present to you as to how you can walk into a situation based on what I've experienced when you know who you are, when you walk in purpose, and you begin to care in the way that God has purpose in you to care. So I want to invite you, if that's okay, to come into my world a little bit. You know, sometimes we wonder, how do we even be? How do we even show care? What does care even look like? And I want to tell you a little story that I walked into a scenario. I mean, we've all experienced hurt and pain, especially in these past few years. And I remember observing a scenario and a situation that's deep and close to my heart that really awakened me to something is not right here. When I am not able to stand beside a family member and hold their hand, or the patient that I'm caring for, and I need to tell them that I'm sorry, no one can be here to hold your hand. You cannot see your loved one as they pass through life into death. There's something that's not right, and it's not okay, and everything in the world around you will tell you, well, that's too bad, that's the system and the mandate. But let me tell you something. God says that's not the way, and there is a different way. So, what I learned that observing, helping people to care as a healthcare provider, it's not so much about my skill. It's not so much about what I can do. Yeah, there's value in that. And for you, there is a skill set and there's value of what you have to bring. But even more than that, are we willing to step into the authority that God's given us as sons and daughters of the Most High, as daughters of the King, that we would know our authority, because out of our mouth comes life. We get to choose life or we get to curse. We get to bless or we get to uplift. And one of the things that I've learned in this scenario, knowing you who you are and the purpose of walking in looks a little bit like this. One of my stories is, as a critical care nurse, the Lord was saying, hey, I want you to stop caring for people in the ICU. Can you step out into seniors care? And I kind of went, what? I don't know, God. I don't know that I can. And one of the things he said is, can you love my people? That was a game changer. Because it was no longer about me and what I can do, but it's about the reflection of the Father's love and what I can bring to bring love into any situation, into any conversation, into any scenario, and shift the atmosphere. So the other thing is, when you know who you are with purpose and you experience the love of Christ and you know that love and you walk into that space of knowing who you are, we get to walk in authority and we get to shift atmospheres, not because of what we've done, not what I've done. Literally, I've walked into an atmosphere where everything, colleagues would tell me, oh my goodness, Fanny, it's chaos. But I'm so glad you're here because I know everything's going to be okay. There's just peace. There's fear and anxiety that comes up. They don't know what to do. Oh, just wait. Our God is a God of peace, and I get to bring that. Not necessarily because of my skills, but because of the presence of God in me and through me that can come to bring the peace of what the people need. So just remember that as you walk in, perhaps you're not somebody who is a caregiver or a healthcare provider, but you're somebody who's coming in for care. And maybe you're at the emergency or at a doctor's clinic. What if your pain and your experience of seeking help was actually an opportunity for you to shift the atmosphere for that very person that you're talking to? in that moment, in that space, in that clinic. You get to bring all of who God is in you, through you, to make a shift for what is necessary for that person that's in front of you. And this is something that I've learned time and time again, that when I come and I understand that I come with the authority of who God's called me to be, and I come to see the people that I'm caring for or that I'm talking to through the eyes of Christ, that's care. It's no longer about a skill set. It's no longer about how quick or how fast I can do a job. It's no longer about whether or not I can do the paperwork. Because what the person experiences is an opportunity with you stepping into authority and shifting the atmosphere because of who you are, speaking a word of encouragement, seeing the person for who they are and calling them up into that scenario and situation the way God sees it. That's what changes care. That's the power that you have. That's the power that I have when I walk into dire scenarios where it is life and death, where it is situations where there's extreme conflict and toxic culture environments in the workplace. But we get to shift that simply by acknowledging that we have authority, and that authority comes from Christ. And how do we demonstrate that authority? Boy, it's going to look and feel very different. Sometimes it's quiet, because the authority and the healing comes simply by presence and being there. Not so much about us laying on hands and praying and seeing the dead rise from the dead. I would love that. Haven't seen that yet in my lifetime. But it's something that I know by my presence and my intention to see the person for how God sees them. Guess what? It opens up a door because the atmosphere shifts and an opportunity for them has been opened up, that they can experience the love of Christ in a new way. So I just want to encourage you. How can you show up? By seeing how God sees a person different, or a scenario different than how you might encountered. Remember, when we come in with knowing who we are, with purpose, we can shift atmospheres. You can shift an atmosphere from chaos to order, because He's a God of order. From fear and anxiety to peace and calm, because He's a God of peace. From confusion to having a sound mind and wisdom and discernment. It's about who you are, not necessarily how you feel. So I want to ask you, hey, what's your next step? How can you step into a situation that looks different through the eyes of Christ, that can become an opening simply by your words or by your presence, that would shift the next step for somebody else to become who they are? Thanks for listening.
Whoa, wow. Let's give it up for Fanny. Thank you so much, Fanny. Oh, we're getting some feedback here. Let me take you off the stage. Oh my goodness. Let me know in the comments. Come on, give our speakers some love. We've just heard from 2 speakers from Canada. We're going to hear next from our speaker across the pond in the UK. And I know that each one of these speakers are bringing a unique contribution. Can you feel it already? Are you receiving the deposits that God is bringing to you today? Well, our next speaker is Despina Constantinu, and Despina is a certified radiant leader who helps women break through barriers and level up. Who needs to have a breakthrough today? Let me know in the comments. Let me know. Say, I do. I need a breakthrough. She knows firsthand what it feels like to be stuck. When she found the Radiant Leadership Academy, her journey to breakthrough began. Today, she will be sharing part of this journey with you, because if you've ever felt like something is keeping you from moving forward, she wants you to know there is a way through. Welcome to the stage, Despina.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm honored to be here with everyone. Hello. I wondered, have you ever felt that you're not where you thought you'd be by now? Do you feel like you're trying to push forward, but something keeps holding you back from building momentum? Do you ever catch yourself sabotaging your own progress? Do you feel you left your dreams in another era? If any of that resonates, you're not alone. I've been there too. I'd like to share a story with you today. It is the story of Chicago. Once upon a time, a town was built near water. Chicago grew rapidly because of its prime location. But there was a problem. Every time it rained, it flooded. And where water pooled, disease spread. The people there were going through epidemic after epidemic as if in a never-ending cycle. Have you ever felt you kept rolling back into the dip with every effort to climb out of it, going around in circles, feeling stuck, never seeming able to break free, to induce change? The people of Chicago realized the issue wasn't the water alone. It was the foundation. The buildings were too low to install proper drainage system. But instead of starting over and building the town anew, they did something radical. They lifted the entire city, building by building, to create the space needed for things to flow. And that's exactly what this leadership program did for me. It raised me up. It gave me the structure to release what had been holding me down. Limiting beliefs, hidden patterns, the story I told myself that kept me small. I felt that with each lesson, dynamite was placed in all the right places. And at the end, it blew up all the things that didn't belong there. I felt like everything that needed to go was cleared out, and I had level ground. When I signed up for it, I signed up with an expectation, an aspiration, a hope. And somewhere halfway through, I started wondering what is going on. At the end, I knew I didn't get what I hoped, but I got what I needed. And it was magnificent. Right there and then, I thought, people need this. People need to know about this. And I went off telling people all about this. Me, the hermit, the tortoise that prefers to stay in the shell all of the time. And then I signed up for another round. This time, I wanted to build on top of that clear sight. Stronger, more confident, more free. Tell me, what would such an experience mean for you? How would it transform your life? How would it impact those around you? Imagine that. While this program was everything it promised and more, I didn't do it alone. Like the buildings of Chicago weren't raised by a single man, but hundreds working together. Having other women on this journey made a huge difference. We shared our stories. We uncovered blind spots and lifted each other to new heights. That sense of community, of women growing together, was something I didn't even know I was missing. And it didn't stop there. Through the wider community, I saw the power of surrounding oneself with people who refuse to settle. People who are committed to growth, to leading their lives with intention, to stepping fully into their potential. Every time I go through this program, I become a better version of myself, my whole self. A better leader, a better friend, a better mom. I found ways to do many other things I've been looking to do for years. For years on my to-do, never gaining traction. Creating new friendships, being a more supportive manager, managing my career more effectively, managing my home, creating opportunity for myself and my family. As someone who has been moving from place to place, leaving everything and everyone behind every time, and too far away, it helped me create and nurture a supportive community in ways I was only dreaming of before. Keeping relationships alive, growing my network, and therefore my reach, created a lot more opportunity for me to rediscover my dreams and to help others level up. Sharing my gifts with others brought elevation to them and a sense of fulfillment to me. This leadership program helped me bring change. That change that I was desperate for. Do you remember? I was stuck in a place I couldn't get out of. I was looking for change, any way to trigger a change to get out of those stale waters. Now I notice how people perceive me differently because they treat me differently, because they speak about me differently, because I have changed. Finally, it started feeling like freedom. If you feel like something is holding you back, if you're ready to raise your own foundation, I want to invite you to take the first step. If you feel isolated, if you feel alone, if you feel nobody gets you and nobody can help you, please have a look at this. If you're curious about the program that changed everything for me, I would love to share more with you. Because you can do anything. If you only knew what it was and how to go about it. I hope to speak to you soon.
Whoa. Oh my goodness. Let's give it up for Despina. Oh my goodness. That was amazing. You know, I have had the privilege of knowing these ladies and seeing them in their journey. And some of them, all of them actually that you've just heard have gone through the Kingdom Speaker Academy. And I am blown away. I'm just blown away by the growth that I see in each one of them in terms of even their communication. So powerful, absolutely powerful. Yes, like Just look at the comments, ladies. So right now, we're going to hear from all of these speakers that we just heard right now on a panel as we move along in the summit. But we're going to reverse engineer it right now. We're going to have a panel of speakers that you are also going to hear coming up, and we're going to kind of do a reverse. But let's welcome to the stage right now. We're going to have, I believe we're going to have Carla, we're going to have Bonnie, and we're going to have Mirtha. So I will formally introduce these ladies as they speak individually on the stage. But right now, I would love to ask each one of you, because you've heard it from the three speakers that we've had so far about community, the power of community that brings change, that brings support. I would love to know if you could each tell me, what has the role of a kingdom community, a like-minded community, played in your life? How has that impacted you? Maybe give me an example or a story of something that has impacted your life because you chose to be connected to a kingdom-minded community on an ongoing basis. So let's start with Carla.
Thank you, Lisa, for asking me to be on this panel. Yeah, I really enjoyed the community within Kingdom Alliance. Like, it's whether it's from the prayer time that we have on Monday mornings, where many women come on there, and first of all, we're giving praise reports, things that have happened, and it's a very good support network of just being able to be supported of no matter what you're going through. And then of course on that prayer call as well, people have sharing things that they are going through, the trials, the bad, the ugly, all that. And we can come around them and surround them, and people have a voice. Women are starting to have a voice, that they don't have to be scared to have to go through things without anybody walking alongside of them. We do life with other women, and that is so much of the community that I find with the prayer group and with the courses that I take and with the whole community as well. So,
wow, I love what you just said there. We don't have to do it alone, and that is so true. Even when we feel like we're alone in what we're going through, but we hear someone else talking about the very similar circumstances, we feel like, wow, it's not just me. It's not just me having these thoughts, not just me having these struggles, not just me. Oh, that's so good, Carla. What's one thing that you would say has been in your life shifted because you've been a part of a community like Kingdom Alliance?
basically being on a forum like this, being able to have the confidence and boldness to be in front of a camera, to share what's going on with my life, to meet people from across the world, to learn about my faith, myself, how to improve my marriage, how to improve my finances, how to that's been the biggest shift, is that exactly what you had said, is that realizing that I'm not alone in what I'm thinking and what I'm experiencing and what I'm going through, that there are many other women that are going through the same thing. And I think that's the biggest shift. And it's then instills the confidence in me, is like, okay, I am not alone. I can handle this and I can go through this. And there's other women that I can draw on for support and guidance. And that's been the biggest shift.
So good. Thank you so much for sharing that. So Bonnie, let's go to Bonnie right now. Bonnie is all the way from Belize, and we're going to hear from her personally. She's going to be on the stage here in another little bit. But Bonnie, what has been the biggest impact for you to be a part of a community of an ongoing basis where people share the faith, a kingdom-minded? Talk to me a little bit about what that has done for you. And you are muted right now, just so you know.
To remember to unmute myself. I kind of stumbled into this community. I didn't know what I was looking for. I had tried so many other sources to try to improve my skills as an entrepreneur. But I always felt very alone and a failure in many ways. And so I stumbled into this community through you, Lisa, because I started to follow you on Facebook. And I saw you transforming from, I didn't know you personally, but you started out as, just a girl that showed up on my screen. And then you started to grow. And I started see you doing these things that I thought, wow, she is really getting this. And so I was curious and I joined your speakers boot camp, and I just fell in love with just how your heart was for God. And so I then joined Kingdom Alliance, and it has been an amazing journey since. I've come to realize that all of the women that I've met so far in Kingdom Alliance are women after God's own heart. And not only that, they're women that are not in competition, but they're there to help one another. I think, we've heard it so much from the ladies that just shared and from Carla. I love that we're not in competition, but we're there to build each other up. And we're kingdom builders. Love that concept. So my heart is one. I love being part of this community and didn't know that I needed it. I'm a pretty independent person. I was a former teacher, had my own classroom. We had a little bit of community going on, but this is really God's way of community. And so I want to encourage those that are listening and are curious to really check it out. It is so worth checking out. So thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you, Bonnie. We are so glad you're here, and we can't wait to hear from you in a little bit here. So, Martha, we're going to go to you next. What impact has it had on your life to be connected to a community of women who are kingdom-minded and faith-based?
The impact for me has been multi-level. I've had the privilege, one of the things that Bonnie just mentioned, like there is no competition in the kingdom. So recognizing that Christ's love, his genuinely love, can be expressed through his daughters and his sons in a way that builds us up has been transformational for me. To know that a space exists where there's a safe space where I could fully be my God-given version, which is me with my quirks, the business side of me, and then the silly side of me, the vulnerable side, and that there's no judgment, but rather in this community, there exists a space where the authentic you, is drawn out. And what has been most impactful for me, and I believe it was Carla that mentioned it, or maybe it was Bonnie, just to actually witness the transformation. I've had inside of the community, I've had the privilege of taking several academies. I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn. So the Speakers Academy, the Radiant Leadership Academy, Radiant Leadership 2, the Authors Academy, and being in the room week over week and watching women and men transform right before my eyes has been incredible and encouraging at the same time. The word of the Lord says that they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimonies. And every week we get to be edified. I get to be edified by the testimonies of others. And what I love is that we're all leaders in the room. We're all servant leaders in the room because we get to develop and grow and learn from each other. It's an awesome thing.
Wow. So good. Thank you so much for your experiences and for just sharing that with those who are listening today. So I just want to say, for those who are listening today, if you want to find out more about this community, we are going to give you a free gift at the end but from the person who invited you. And if you just kind of stumble upon this, well, you just reach out to one of us that and we will give you that free gift to see whether or not this community may be the answer to your prayers, maybe the solution that you are looking for to be able to bring you to another level in your development and helping you to fulfill the call of God on your life. Thank you, ladies, for that. We're going to hear we're going to have another panel later on, and we're also going to have now another guest speaker. And she's not with us live today. She had to pre-record her session, but nonetheless, it is going to be powerful. You're going to want to take notes from our next speaker as well. And her name is Teresa Ramirez. And Teresa actually is a kindness ambassador. She works in the corporate. She's been a corporate trainer, and she actually just recently received the Impact Author Award, a very prestigious award for her book about kindness. And she goes into corporations and organizations talking about kindness, about how to overcome bullying with kindness. Very, very powerful. So let me, right now, I'm just going to roll the video. Let me welcome to the stage Teresa Ramirez.
Hi, everyone. I am Teresa Ramirez, your kindness
And let me know if you can hear. Give me a thumbs up.
A couple of years ago, I was praying to God to send me people. Hi, everyone. I am Teresa Ramirez, your kindness ambassador. Did you know, a couple of years ago, I was praying to God to send me people, anybody, to help me to move journey and kindness forward. And you know what? He did. He sent me Kingdom Alliance, an amazing group of faith-based women who lift each other up and do everything in their power to make sure that you are successful. And they did that for me. But you know, they also are an amazing example of kindness. The definition of kindness is lifting each other up. If you're not lifting each other up, then you're not being kind. The Kingdom Alliance lifts each and every member up and helps them be the success that we know that they can be. Kindness, it's so simple. It is so simple. Let's try an exercise. I want you all to close your eyes. And you're sitting in your living room. Just imagine your living room is full of kindness. Now, let's take that out to the street, out into your community, into your cities, your states, and ultimately across the country. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? So why aren't we kind all the time? And again, I'll say it again, it is so simple. It is that smile and that hello, opening a door. Yes, you can pay for the coffee for the person behind you, but it's just those everyday simple activities. And never underestimate that smile and hello. I have a friend who retired and got bored, so they went to work for a parking garage. And he loves the job, best job he ever had. And he greets every car that comes through with a smile and a good morning. We took a couple weeks off. And when he came back, his regular clients are like, "Where have you been? I've had the worst 2 weeks of my life." And he's looking at him like, "What?" And they just told him that his good morning and his smile made their day. Their days started off well and kept going that way most of the time. And he was like, "Wow, you always told me that a smile goes a long way, but I never understood the impact it can have until someone told me what my smile and good morning did." So I got to thinking, that's an amazing conversation, and how simple it is. Another great example is I walk my dog Noelle on the bike trail every day, and I smile and say hi to everybody. And a lot of people want to pet Noelle. She's about 10 pounds and cuter than Christmas. Yes, spoiled rotten too. But she wanted somebody asked to pet her. And I said, sure. And we were sitting next to some steps. So they sat down on the steps. Noelle hopped in her lap. And the woman starts to pet her, and she just gets kind of a faraway look in her eyes. And she said, you know, I lost my husband 6 months ago. And I lost my beloved pet about 3 weeks ago. And she just kept going on and talking and, you know, expressing her grief. And then she stopped. She stood up, brushed away the tears, and she looked at me and said, thank you. I haven't felt that good in months. Now, through that conversation, I really didn't realize it until that moment that everyone's going through something. And personal pain is as unique as a fingerprint. You never know what someone is going through. So always, always be kind. Last story. I have a couple more stories, but we should just need to change our perception of what people are going through. If they're yelling, if they're crying, you don't know. Another good story is I went to lunch with a friend, and we were reading through the menu, and we had all these questions. And when the server came, they said, what do you want? And we're like, well, we have a couple questions. And she said, I don't know. I was told to come over here and take your order. What do you want? So I looked at my friend, and we're like, okay, we'll see. We placed our order, and we got our food. Our food was fine. Not sure she came to refill coffee or water or anything. And when we were about done, she slams down the bill. And my friend and I were just looking at each other. And, you know, we thought about it. We talked about it. Do we want to call the manager over? Because we have every right to. We are within our rights to complain about the service we received. But I thought, no. I told her, no, we're not going to. We paid the bill, tipped her a normal tip, and then on my receipt, I said, you were designed to shine, and I put a happy face. And then we gathered our stuff up and walked out the door. You know, she chased us into the parking lot, and she said, thank you. I really needed to hear that today. So you never know what someone's going through. And that was a decision we had to make. And my friend was really kind of adamant about the manager, but I was bold and said no. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to choose kindness. And I got that boldness and I got that leadership quality through Radiant Leadership Academy at Kingdom Alliance. Before that, she might have gotten to take the lead, and we would have, in my opinion, chosen the wrong choice. But in this time, because I'm being bolder and because I'm stepping into my leadership role, I was guided through that, through Kingdom Alliance. And it's been an amazing thing. It's been an amazing journey to see how I can now lead people through kindness. All because of Radiant Leadership Academy. Okay, last story. Last story. Kindness, you can use humor. Laughter goes a long, long way. And I was exiting on an exit ramp, and the guy in front of me stops, and he gets out of his car, and he's yelling and screaming at me. And now, mind you, I have no idea what I did, even to this day. So I'm like, oh boy. And I looked over my console. I said, ooh, I got an idea. And I put on my red clown nose. And then I just kind of smiled and waved through the windshield. He couldn't stop fast enough. He's just like, whoa. And to this day, I wonder what he told people when he got to his destination about the crazy lady with the clown nose. And, you know, I love the clown nose. It's a great prop. And humor does amazing things. Humor makes us stop and laugh at ourselves more than anything. So if you are a comedian of sorts, or can rattle off one-liners left and right, in a tense situation, please do that, because laughter lowers that stress and lowers that anxiety, and it gives everybody a chance to catch their breath. And then you can have a normal, constructive conversation and resolve that issue. And it's all because of laughter. And now all this could sound nice, and you're like, yeah, it's nice and fluffy. But did you know there are studies that prove kindness changes your mental health and your physical health, for that matter? So if I exchange an act of kindness with you, our serotonin levels go up. And serotonin is our happy hormones. And so from one act of kindness, you and I are pretty happy. But did you know anyone that observes that act of kindness, their serotonin levels also go up? So from one act of kindness, we have created a room full of happy people. Now imagine creating that ripple everywhere, because eventually those ripples are going to merge together and create a wave of kindness that washes across this country. So how are you going to be kind? Kingdom Alliance has helped me become a better speaker. They have Speaker Academy and a Kim 10 certification. Kim 10 is Kingdom Impact Message in 10 minutes. And it was to replace TED Talks. So now we kind of say, move over, Ted, here comes Kim. But the Speaker Academy helped me speak better, helped me move better, helped me utilize a stage better, increased my confidence. And it's all about Kingdom Alliance, boosting each other up, lifting each other up. I am so thankful to Kingdom Alliance. And I am thankful that they are showing kindness by uplifting each other. So how are you going to show kindness today?
Wow, wow, wow. Another great speaker. So many nuggets of truth in there. Let me know in the comments so far, what are your biggest takeaways from these amazing speakers? Let me remove her name there, because with her recorded video, she didn't have her name, and I wanted to make sure she had her name. But let me know in the comments, what are some of the biggest takeaways that you are having so far from listening to our speakers? Because we're not done yet. We have a few more to go. We got another panel. So you're still going to be receiving some amazing truth. So let me have a look here in the chat, see the comments. Thank you. Hello. Blessings from Detroit. Hello, Chanel. Hello, Ruby. Hello, Lynn. I see you there. Kingdom Women rock. They sure do. And we are only getting started here. So next up on the stage, I want to introduce to you Carla Weiss. Now, you heard her on the panel just a few minutes ago, but Carla is a registered nurse. She's a women's wellness coach and a certified brain health mentor. She's a co-author of 2 powerful books, one called Unrelentless Courage in the Face of Adversity, and the other one, Rising Up Through Stuttering to Influence Others. She mentors exhausted, overwhelmed women who struggle with poor sleep, fatigue, and the challenge of balancing their health and well-being. Do you fit into that category? Some days I do, for sure. With over 30 years in healthcare, Carla has seen firsthand how inadequate sleep and poor lifestyle choices can deeply impact performance, health, and overall enjoyment of life. But she wants you to know that change is possible. You can take control of your health, transform your well-being, and step into the life that God has for you. So please join me in welcoming Carla Weiss, a woman whose courage, faith, and purpose inspire us all and give us hope. Let's give her a warm welcome. Welcome to the stage, Carla.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. Have you ever considered that your greatest challenges might actually hold the key to discovering your true purpose? That the obstacles you face might be actual essential stepping stones guiding you towards the unique impact you are supposed to make in this world? I never imagined that a car accident would lead to such a revelation. I didn't know that coming so close to death would help me uncover what I truly valued and clarify my vision for my life. In just a few moments, everything changed, forever shifting my perspective on resilience and purpose. Today, I want to share with you how you can walk boldly and courageously through your challenges, embrace your divine assignment, and step into a life of peace, purpose, and wholeness. I will show you how God desires you to unveil your purpose and lead you into his plan for your life. He wants you to rise above fear, making an impact in this world, and confidently live out the calling he has placed in your life. So let me take you back to that fateful day. It started like any other. I was preparing for work, sipping my tea, getting things ready. The sky outside was clear when I left home, but as I drove on my usual route, the air grew increasingly smoky, and visibility became a challenge. I thought it would be okay, but as I continued, the fog thickened. I misjudged the turn, glanced down for a moment, and then, boom, I slammed head on into a gravel truck. In that instant, everything stopped. The music stopped. It went silent. It was as if the world had paused, and all I could hear was the silence. I was alive. How was I alive? How was I not seriously injured? My car was a wreck, but I was fully aware of everything that had just happened. My airbags deployed, saving me from being thrown out of the car. I wasn't hurt physically, but I was now in danger, and it was time for survival mode to kick in. I somehow summoned the strength to lift those airbags and escape the wreckage. I couldn't explain it then, but looking back, I was given some divine strength in that moment. Then, just as I was trying to comprehend the situation, a man in a yellow coat appeared. He approached the car, checking if anybody was there. Without saying one word, he collected some of my belongings, walked over to me, and disappeared. I believe that man was an angel, sent to help me in that moment. As I watched my car burst into flames, my heart sank. I love that vehicle. The vehicle that I was just been sitting in was now a pile of metal consumed by fire. It was so hard to take in. The car was destroyed. Everything was gone. And yet somehow I was standing there, unharmed. In that surreal moment, I was reminded of a Bible story I learned growing up of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You remember those? Benny, Abby? I don't know what you ever call the names. I just went by Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I'd been in that fire, but I was protected. I was not harmed. Then I had to call my hubby, unsure of what to expect from him, fearing his reaction. And when he arrived, he also didn't say a word. Instead, he simply embraced me. His embrace was exactly what I needed. And in that moment, I felt God's loving arms holding me tightly, assuring me that he wasn't letting go. So then I spent the next 10 hours in the emergency room getting scans and x-rays and assessments. I was blessed to find out no internal injuries, just a small brain bleed, less than 4 millimeters, a bruise on my right lung, and a tiny hairline fracture in my right foot, which I didn't learn about until months later. I wish the physical injuries was all that I had to face. The next day, my family and I went to view my burnt car. As I stood there, surveying the wreckage, it became so clear to me how close I had come to losing my life. But in the midst of that destruction, I saw something miraculous. A book, untouched by the flames, not even one bit of scorchness on it. It was resting on the back seat. The title, Blessed in the Mess by Joyce Meyer. It was as if God was telling me, I was with you in that mess. I was there when that crash happened, when you were stuck in the car, and when you stepped out of that wreckage. And I will be there as you heal. In that moment, God unveiled my purpose to me. I wasn't done. I was still here for a greater reason, and He had more in store for me. Though my faith grew stronger after this experience, I had to confront something even more challenging, healing my mind. In the weeks that followed, very clear, vivid images of the crash flooded my thoughts, especially when I tried to sleep. Guilt and shame consumed me, affecting every part of my life. I even began to wonder if I should have died in that accident. It was difficult to drive again. Every time I got behind the wheel, all I could see was the crash, the burnt vehicle, and those terrifying memories. One night I woke up in tears, overwhelmed by grief. I decided it was time to stop letting the accident control my mind. I cried out to God. I asked Him to deliver me. I begged Him to take away those painful memories and replace them with peace. I grabbed my journal and spent the next 3 to 4 hours pouring out my heart to Him. I prayed for guidance through the healing process and promised that I was ready to step into the calling He had for me. As I prayed, God spoke very clearly to me. He told me He wanted me to mentor women, to guide them through their fears, help them heal from their messes, and teach them how to walk in alignment with Him. He wanted me to show them how to rest in His goodness and how to fix their eyes on Him, even in the face of fear. And one verse that I went to so many times is 2 Timothy 1:7. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and self-discipline. So, how do we walk through our messes despite being so afraid? How do we embrace our divine assignment? I'm going to share with you 4 things that I did to walk through this, and I know that if you tried them, they will help you too. The first one is prayer. I had to spend time with God. I had to be so honest with myself without sugarcoating how I felt. God was there, and He wanted to hear from me. I had to be real with myself of who I was. Second, studying His Word. When I began to study His promises and learn who I truly was, I realized I was chosen. I am loved, and I am deeply valued. I discovered my true identity. Number 3, weekly affirmations. My accident started on a Thursday. On that very first Sunday after my accident, I started putting up weekly affirmations on my mirror. And every Sunday after that, that first Sunday was my reset, was my restart. It was a way that I could reset my mindset after that trauma. And number 4 is a daily renewal of the mind. Every morning when I got up, I asked God to remove any negative thoughts and replace them with His promises. And also when I went to bed at night, I asked God to remove any negative thoughts so I could sleep peacefully. And I wanted him to replace those with his promises, his grace, and his love. And over time, these daily renewals became a habit that transformed my thinking. But I want to tell you about a community that has also helped me through my healing process, through the courses that they offer: Radiant Speaker Academy, Radiant Leadership Academy, Identity 2.0, the prayer times, the community of just like-minded women who are not in competition with each other, but who can wrap yourselves around you and give you the support that you need. I found the healing and support that I needed within that community. Those women became my sisterhood, my extended family. I learned how to tear down the lies I had believed for myself for so long and embrace the truth of who I am in Christ. The teachings, for example, in Radiant Leadership Academy, helped me retrieve the affirmations that I used Sunday by Sunday that guided my healing process. And because of Kingdom Alliance, I learned how to respond with grace when my family made jokes about the accident rather than reacting in shame, which we called second thought theory. It taught me how to rise as the godly leader in my home, my workplace, and my community. So the obstacles I've faced this past year, though challenging, have been essential stepping stones. They have taught me to rely on God and trust that He will bring me through every storm. Our challenges are never coincidental. They are life lessons meant to grow our faith, develop our character, and lead us to a place where we can impact others. So God is with us in every challenge. He will lift us up when we fall. He will never let us go. And trusting in Him is the greatest decision we can make. Remember, we are all daughters of the King, designed to lead and impact others in His kingdom. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow, wow. What a powerful story, Carla. I have actually never heard her share that story. I knew about the accident and about the things and about the angel. Let me know in the comments what hit you about that story, because that was powerful. Carla, I'm so proud of you. Wow. The delivery was amazing. Amazing. Now, these speakers have all gone through different courses to actually help them communicate more effectively. And I don't know, those who know these people, the speakers, you'll know the difference. But it's so important to be able to clearly and concisely communicate the message that God has on your heart. And if you're listening today and that you know that you want to step forward with courage, with fearlessness, to be able to communicate in a way that impacts lives. And I want to encourage you to put, yes, I want to speak, put it in the comments, and we'll follow up with you. Someone who is invited you here today will follow up with you and help you get started. God is with you in the mess. Yes, that was a powerful, powerful statement, wasn't it? God is with you in the mess. Well, let's continue on here. We have another speaker, and then right after this speaker, we're going to have another panel, and then we have two more speakers. So stay tuned because there's more. There's more. I don't know if your hand is getting tired or if you're typing all the notes, but there's so many nuggets of truth and inspiration and encouragement here. And that's the power of coming together in our shared experiences and just delivering, but also sharing to encourage one another. So I hope that you are enjoying being a part of this community today. And we want to invite you that if you want this every week, every day, then you can. It's possible. Yes, God wants us no matter what. Well, let me introduce to you our next speaker, who is Bonnie Reagan, and she comes to us from Belize. She is a trauma and relationship coach, international speaker, educator, and kingdom builder dedicated to empowering women. With over 20 years in education and a decade helping women overcome spousal betrayal trauma, Bonnie guides individuals towards health, self-worth, and God-given purpose. She is certified as a DISC personality specialist. She has unique insights into interpersonal dynamics, helping women rebuild relationships and embrace their true potential. Together with her husband of 45 years, Bonnie supports couples in overcoming betrayal and restoring relationships. A committed family woman and mindset renewal coach, she also enjoys mentoring youth and spending time with her 2 children, 6 grandchildren, and traveling. Grounded in her faith and inspired by Psalm 92:14, Bonnie strives to help others shape their destinies and pass on a legacy of hope. Welcome to the stage, Bonnie.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. And I'm so honored to be here. And I'm just in awe, I think, of having listened to the stories of my sisters before me here. And all I can say is, wow, what a God of wonder we serve, because we all have a story. Well, I'm going to start with a question, and it's, have you ever been in an intimate relationship where you trusted someone so deeply only to find yourself broken and in the wreckage of betrayal and broken trust? Well, if you said, yes, I have, then you've probably gone through betrayal trauma. Dr. Sherry Kiefer, who's a trauma psychologist, has done research, and she says that about 76% of people that have gone through betrayal actually have the similar symptoms to the PTSD that our veterans have when they come back from very traumatic frontline experiences. And so when you look at trauma, our brains were wired for life. You know, God gave us life. We're wired for life. And so he created our brains to look at our life experiences for safety and accuracy. And if we've had trauma, of course, our brain then is reshaped with a memory bank that is always looking for safety, always looking for verification of truth and accuracy. And so when we look at betrayal trauma, it is a multidimensional trauma. It affects so many different parts of our being. It affects our perception of truth and reality. It changes the way we see ourselves, the way we see our partners, the way we see others. It changes our sense of safety and our confidence. As a woman, we often think that somehow there's something wrong with us, that we were somehow the cause of the betrayal. And it creates all kinds of debilitating things like triggers and panic attacks and so forth. And so it really affects you on so many different levels and changes the way you respond to life. Well, it creates brokenness, yes. And I was broken. But brokenness doesn't have to be your story. You see, brokenness can be a space actually that God can use, where he can shape you, he can refine you, and he can enlarge your territory. He can, in that space, that very difficult space, he can help you discover your voice and your purpose. Well, that was my story. You see, my husband and I, we had a marriage that most people thought was a very perfect marriage. And on many levels, it was a wonderful marriage. I had a wonderful husband. He was an amazing man. He was very good to me. He was a good provider. People loved him. He was an amazing father, really committed to our children. He was liked by people because he had a sense of humor, and he had a servant's heart. He was just a really, really awesome guy, and still is. And you know, we worked hard, we played hard, we built hard, and we had a faith in common. So that was something that we really built on, and we had 2 children together that we loved, and we were both very committed to family. And our children gave us 6 amazing grandchildren who we love and enjoy together. But you see, right from the beginning of our marriage, we had this deep, dark secret. It was in the first year of our marriage that, you know, we were still madly in love, and my husband was a new believer, and he decided to sit me down and tell me that he had been unfaithful to me. I was young. I didn't know what to do with that information. I was shell-shocked. And in those days, 45 years ago, I didn't know who to turn to and what to do. So I looked at my marriage and I thought, I love this man. By this time, we had a young daughter, and I didn't want to lose my marriage or my family. And so I decided that I would just stuff that information. My husband was unable to tell me why it happened. He really didn't know himself, I don't think, at that point. And so I chose to stuff it. I stuffed all the pain, all the confusion, and just put on my big girl panties, so to speak, and decided to move forward. The problem is that shame, secrecy, and isolation settled into our relationship. And I was never able to bring closure to my question, why? Why did this happen? So fast forward 20 years, we now have grown children, and another discovery happened. And by this time I was totally devastated. I didn't know how I was going to move forward. And so my husband was very remorseful. He asked for my forgiveness. He cried. I cried. We spent a lot of time praying and seeking God, and we decided that we needed to maybe fix our marriage. Maybe our marriage was the problem, why he was making the choices that he was. Maybe there was something wrong with our marriage. And so we got a Christian therapist to help us improve our marriage, and we spent a lot of time just working on our marriage. And things improved in our marriage, and we decided to forgive, move on, put the past behind us. And it seemed to work, except that the shame and the secrecy and the isolation continued. I never shared my story with anybody. Fast forward another 10 years. And by this time, our children were married and they had children. So we had grandchildren. And we were on a missions trip on our way back from Africa when another D-Day happened. And this time, the floor fell out right from beneath me, and I collapsed. And I realized that all the things that we had done to try to move forward and get past these discoveries had not worked. All the repentance, the remorse, the rebuilding, the working hard hadn't gotten to the root. And I realized that we had a big problem. My husband had a problem that he needed help with, but I also had a problem that I needed help with. Well, I'm so thankful that by this time there was, culture had changed and there was more information. There were more people talking about things like sexual addictions and infidelity and porn and betrayal trauma. And so there was way more information out there. And so we decided to look for somebody in our area, and there was one counselor who had struggled with his own porn addiction and objectification of women, who was now working with other people in similar situations, who we went to and got help from, and he started us on our journey. It was a very long and hard and winding road. It had lots of ups and downs, and there were many times where we thought we would never make it. But we were determined because we loved each other and we believed in family. And we didn't want to leave a legacy to our family of brokenness. And so we decided we would keep going. And we learned so much. And we grew so much. We learned about addiction. We learned about God's purpose for sex and marriage. We learned about the things that had shaped us in our life and the beliefs that we had and the corresponding behaviors that we had adopted. And we learned about just how to regain trust, how to rebuild trust and what that looked like and how it was different than forgiveness. And it was just an amazing but very difficult journey that took years. But in the process of that journey, we began to change. And there were a couple of things that really stood out to us. One was we began to realize we were the product of the 20th century sexual revolution that had, promoted free love and sexual promiscuity and had really objectified women, and women were being viewed as just physical images and pleasure centers. Women had become more promiscuous and really didn't see anything wrong with no strings attached encounters. They didn't realize the heart of God that He had put in us, that desires to be chosen. And we were products of that culture. And the second thing that we realized by the 21st century was that we had a raging epidemic of porn addiction, largely fed by the free access, the easy access, the free access, and the secrecy of the internet. In fact, Pornhub, we found, has, I think this is a 2024 figure, has about 100 million people worldwide that view porn daily. And they're making lots of money on those views, even though it's free to get into some of their sites. We also learned that about 87% of men view porn monthly, and about 58% view it daily. And that doesn't change whether you are a Christian or a non-Christian or whatever your moral persuasion is. There is a huge following of porn. We also learned that women are being drawn into porn, and that about 30 to 40% of women are finding themselves engaging in porn. And we also learned that children are being exposed to porn at younger and younger ages, with the mean age being about between ages of 8 to 11. They're being introduced to porn and sexual activities that are very degrading and damaging to their formative years. So that was our story, and we began to realize as we healed and grew that we had a story to share that could help other people. And we began to realize that our mess really was our message. And so I began to reach out to women who'd gone through similar things as me with betrayal trauma. And I put together programs and support systems and communities where they could find support and safety and heal. And more than that, I began to see that not only to heal, but to find their voice and to regain their godly strength and dignity so that they could help others. And my husband and I, we began to work with couples together and help them to rebuild, because we believe so strongly in the value of families that could be stable and not allow the things that the enemy meant for evil to destroy them. And so we began working with couples to help them rebuild. And we began to realize that really our pain and our shame had become our purpose. Well, why am I telling you this story? It's not one that I was proud to share for many years. I kept it a secret because I was ashamed. And my husband was ashamed, and we had to deal with the shame. We had to identify that the shame was not ours to wear, and that our real enemy was not us, but the things that we believed and the things that we had given into in our life. And so through that, we began to just grow strong. And I'm sharing this story because I want you to know, if you've gone through a similar story, shame is not your friend, and you don't have to go through it alone. In fact, when we go through trauma, it doesn't matter what kind of trauma we go through, the number one tendency is to believe that we have to keep it a secret and that we have to, therefore, go through it alone. But we were never meant to travel, as you've heard through the many wonderful stories already heard, that we were never meant to journey alone. We were meant to be in community. And so, your story may be different than mine. Maybe you haven't experienced betrayal trauma even. Maybe you haven't experienced even what you would think is trauma. But all of us have some kind of a story that has impacted us and broken us on some level. But that doesn't have to be our destiny. We can move through and past that brokenness to rebuild and to change from the inside out. But I want to encourage you that you've heard many, many stories about the need for community and what many girls have found in this community, this Kingdom Alliance community. And this community has become part of my story in my journey, because I found community in Kingdom Alliance of women that are so supportive and willing to help, and who have a heart to be kingdom builders. And so I want to encourage you to, no matter where you are in your journey, to not try to go alone, but to seek out a community. And I'd love it if you would consider Kingdom Alliance, because you've heard the many stories of what a safe and wonderful and life-giving place it is. And I would just want to encourage you, as women, we need to find our voice. And we need to use our voice for a God-given purpose, because we were made for impact and for God's glory. And when we change from the inside out, we can change our world together. And that's my story, and I pray that through it.
Finish up. Pray that through it.
I thought you had taken me off, so I stopped, but I just pray that through it. I've encouraged my sisters to know that you're not alone, and you have a story to tell that needs to be heard. And so I'll leave you with that thought.
Wow. Thank you so much, Bonnie, for your transparency, your vulnerability, and just the powerful, inspiring story of commitment, loyalty, and perseverance. What a testimony. Thank you so much. And I know people listening today are deeply impacted by that story, by your story, as they have been with all the other stories. And that's the power of being able to share the contribution that God has put on our heart. You know, sometimes we see our life story as things that we just want to forget, things that we just want to hide. But in my journey, I discovered that those are the very places that God wants to use for you to impact other people's lives. Those are part of the unique contribution that God wants you to bring forward. And I'm so thankful for each of these women today being courageous, stepping into their place of authority and anointing so that others can also be free. So we're going to have another panel discussion right now, and I'm going to bring up, who are we bringing up here? Fanny. We're going to bring up Fanny to the stage, and I think Christine is coming up. Ruby's going to be joining us, and one more person, Despina, right? Hello, ladies, you fearless women of faith. All right, so now I know that each one of you have gone through the Kingdom Speaker Academy. You've gone through the Radiant Leadership Academy and other things within the Kingdom Alliance, and I would love it if you would share either one of those academies you've gone through and the community that you are connected to, how it impacted your life. And so I know I'm kind of throwing you a little bit of a curveball in terms of specifically talking about one of these things, but it is all in the context of growing together among a community that celebrates, that wants the best for us, but also a place where we feel is safe. And to be, what difference has that made for you in your journey to get you to where you are today? But also, because we're talking about being fearless, also to give you the courage and the confidence to step more boldly into the things that God has called you to. Who'd like to go first? All right, Christine, go for it.
Well, you know, I did the Radiant Academy and the level 2, and many of the girls on the panel today have been part of that with me. You know, you heard Despina talk, and let me tell you, I was in the Radiant Leadership Academy with her, and I got to see the change in her from when she first started coming on camera to where she is now. And she got to see it in me. Same with Fanny and some of the other ladies. I think both in the Radiant Leadership 1 and in Radiant Leadership 2, I had such profound deliverances, really, because, you know, we're on this walk with God, and yet we're living in this world. And this world, especially in these days, is a really scary and crazy place.
Mhm.
But to be able to be in community and see what other people are going through, you realize that you're not alone. You know, some of the things that I went through earlier in my life, you know, I was in an abusive marriage. And through that whole time, I really did think I was, you know, you see it in the movies, but I really did think that it was just me. And it wasn't until I got out and got into community that I realized that there were other people just like me going through the same things. And when I went through these academies and I heard other people's stories, and we would come on and share, you know, things that we learned in that week. And I had some profound beliefs just go, and I learned who I was. And each one of the girls that were in the program with me cheered me on. They celebrated my success. They held me accountable. You know, when I was getting a little bit behind in my homework, Lynn, she called me out. Come on, Christine, let's get this done, right? And so that's what we do with each other. And so going through these programs has helped me become a person who can stand on a stage and say, listen, this is what I went through. And you know what? You're not alone. And I can call up other people and I can support other people because I've had that through my community.
Thank you so much, Christine. Very, very powerful. And yes, I have seen the change in you as well. And it's just so beautiful to watch each other and to be with each other as we all go on this journey of growth and development that God has for us. And each one that we can celebrate the differences and the uniqueness of each one. I just love it so much. So who would like to go next? Who would like to share the impact it's had on your life to be a part of a community? Desvina, go for it. Just unmute yourself.
I wanted to say that when I started this, it was out of really hope that I was just gonna find something that would work better than all the other things I tried. And when yes, I did go through the courses, and yes, I did go through them with other people, and their insights helped me break through whatever from their experience I was breaking through in my journey. But what I found more than anything is that I've been in other places. You know, I was trying a lot for a very long time to get where I needed to get to. Basically to get out of where I was, pretty much. I wasn't sure where I was going at the time. And no community had this density. And what I mean by that is that everybody was just there. There was nothing to connect the people, to build the community. It simply was called a community. Whereas here, it's the reverse. Nobody really talks about the community apart from the people who are in the community, if that makes sense. And it's all cohesive. We're all sort of trying the same thing, but at the core is something similar, if that makes sense. So, and that's why we have all this growth, because everybody is pulling towards the same direction. And I found that is probably the biggest thing that happened to me in this journey, because I could have gone through the program and it would have done what it says on the tin and more. But the fact that I got embedded in the community accelerated my journey and expedited my journey, because I had all these people around me that were supportive and helping me out through their experience and their knowledge and their journey.
Wow. So what I hear you saying, Despina, is that you could have just gone through the course and any of those courses that you went through, and it would have had an impact on your life. But the fact that you took another step further and you intentionally allowed yourself to build relationship and to engage. And I know a lot of the academies have what are called accountability partners, to engage and be actively participating in the community, that actually really allowed the development, the growth to go that much faster and deeper. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Exactly that.
Powerful. And I think anyone listening today, you may be listening today and you've probably gone through a lot of courses online, and all of us on this panel and on this stage today to say, yeah, you know what, we've engaged in courses, and there's so many courses out there we can engage it, but that nugget alone, it's not just about taking a course, because there's lots of things we can do online. It's about the relationships. It's about engaging, being known, and getting to know other women, like-minded women that God has put in our life to be able to draw from and to deposit into, so that mutually we all, I love that statement, we all go in the same direction. We're all kind of going in the same direction on our own journey, but yet together, linking arms together. Love that. Thank you, Despina. Who would like to go next? Fanny, was that a yes? Go for it.
Well, those listening, you might not know, I'm actually an introvert and pretty quiet. But what I would say is, being in this community of women, the opportunity through Kingdom Alliance, it's pulled me out of my shell through the speaking, in the leadership, to really pull me out of my shell to say, okay, there is value in what I have to present, what I have to offer and be able to pour out. It's not so much I don't want to say it's a give and take. It's a iron sharpens iron scenario in this community. And I would say there's women that are so different from me that's in this community, and yet when I hear their stories, or when I'm accountability partners with them and we listen, they're from across the world, and it's like, oh my goodness, that was such a gift. You never know who you're going to meet. That becomes a divine appointment because of your yes. And for me, time and time again, what I value through these academies and courses I've taken is I discover one little bit more of, oh, that is the gift that I get to offer because you showed it to me. Not something that I was looking for, but God used somebody else to highlight something. And I would say, in being part of the community, it's been a gift to me. There are ladies on here that will push you in the most healthy, beautiful way to get you going. And I would say these ladies have done that for me. For me to be not only about being a better person, but being focused and intentional about kingdom impact and making a difference in whatever sphere. Like for me, it's healthcare and whatnot, but it's whatever sphere you're in. We all don't have the same businesses. We all don't do the same work. But guess what? We're all kingdom minded. What does that really mean? We want to make impact. We want transformation for people. Yes, know Jesus and what that is. But more than that is, hey, what do you have to bring that is unique and different? And this community has done that for me.
Wow. Thank you so much, Fanny. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of feedback here. All right, Ruby, you're up. Ruby is a mom of twins, so she's probably got a lot going on in her world right now, but we're so thankful to have you here, Ruby. You have the stage.
Thank you. And I think I'm getting some bad reception right now. So I apologize. I'm going to
It
reboot
sounds
everything
good.
as soon as I'm
It
done.
sounds
But
good right now.
I just wanted to share that. Hear me? Yeah. Okay, good. I wanted to share that all the academies have been so impactful for me. I think they all came at a moment that I needed them, which was that's kind of where it's divine, because you talk to other women that are going through the academies, and they seem to think the same thing, even though they are all over the world. They're going through different things, and they also feel that divine timing. And there's no way that can't be anything but divine intervention, if you ask me. Particularly with me, the Speaker Academy has been instrumental. I will always have that first attempt in social media, and we always joke about it. That I even had a little bit of like spit up. I was literally so nervous, so nauseous when I did my first attempt, and I have had the opportunity to be in many stages and podcasts and events like this. And so when I look back at that, it wasn't that long ago, but the growth has been instrumental. I've taken it multiple times along with some of the beautiful ladies here. And, the change has been so big of myself was existing, because I feel so confident, and I feel like I finally have the confidence to be able to share all my gifts and thoughts alongside my other beautiful sisters here. So if you are him, no way I can do this, I am testament you can definitely do it.
Trying to get my attention here. I'm muted. I'm like looking at all these waves. All right. All right. Thank you so much, ladies, for your contributions. We're gonna make room now for our next speakers, but I want to know, if you're listening right now, what are the takeaways that are being deposited into your soul? Because God doesn't waste time. You have showed up, you've invested even to watch and to listen to these speakers today, to come to this summit. There's a reason. I believe there's a reason why you came, and God wants you to walk away with something that is going to add more value to your life, give you a solution that you've been looking for, an answer to a prayer, whatever it is. Do not take it lightly. Take it away and allow God to do with it what he wants. And if you are inspired and encouraged by the stories and about the impact that these women have had just by intentionally developing their skills, coming into a community, you say, I want that. I want to be in that kind of a community. Then reach out to the person who invited you to the summit, and we can help you get started. And there's some academies that are actually starting in March here, and then other ones and other courses that you can engage in that will help you not only in your leadership skills and your communication skills, your social media development, your business, your marriage, all of the things that our speakers have talked about today. We have programs and community engagement for you to participate in. So without further ado, let me introduce you to our next speaker. Our next speaker today is Mirtha Coronel. Mirtha is on a mission to bring light to a struggle that too often remains hidden. Mirtha is a sexual responsibility educator, an author, and an international speaker dedicated to guiding women toward emotional and spiritual healing. Through her book, Abortion Hurts, Healing is Possible, and her transformative coaching, she helps women recognize the unspoken impact of abortion and take their steps toward restoration. Today, she will share how to unlock the healing so many don't even realize they need. So please join me in welcoming my dear friend and fellow Canadian, Mirtha, to the stage.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you. Well, I'm going to jump right in. Purity is defined as the state of not being mixed with anything else. The fact of being clean or free from harmful substances. The quality of being morally good, or the state of not engaging in sexual activity. In a day when what is evil is called good, and what is good is called evil, maintaining a state of purity seems to be an almost impossible lifestyle choice, regardless of age, gender, or even marital status. We are bombarded with audible messages and imagery that portray the opposite of purity as the norm and almost expected way of life. However, who can stand before God? Only the one with clean hands and a pure heart. The psalmist poses a question. How can a young man keep his way pure? And the response is, by guarding it according to your word. That's God's word. The narrative our generation faces seems to be one-sided. But imagine the impact if the other side of the story was shared. The side that values purity before marriage and faithfulness within marriage. What if, when faced with an opportunity to experience something new outside of this order, we carefully considered the safest and healthiest mental, emotional, physical, relational, and spiritual response? And then what if we chose the path that promotes health and overall well-being? Better still, what if the law of the Lord was deeply ingrained within us and written upon the tablets of our hearts, influencing our decision-making? But how can a generation choose a lifestyle they have not heard of? And how will they hear about it without someone telling them? And furthermore, how can they live it without the guidance of the Spirit of the living God and the example set by others? The time has come to rebuild the foundation of our nation on the virtue of a wholesome sexuality. Children will be born because of it. How so, you might be wondering? How will children be born because of it? Well, let me ask you this. Do you know someone who has had at least one abortion? Statistically speaking, 1 in every 10 women will have at least one abortion in their lifetime. This means that there is a good chance that you do know at least one person who has aborted their unborn baby. Of the abortions that take place, 95% of them are elective, meaning that there was no direct health risk to the mother or to the baby to carry that pregnancy to full term, and nor was that unintended pregnancy the result of an incestuous abuse or other form of violation, including rape. 50% of unintended pregnancies end in abortion. The majority of abortions as a result of these unintended pregnancies could actually have been avoided if a holistic view to health was considered. The view that takes into account what is the healthiest for your heart, for your mind, for your body, for your soul, and for your relationships. Not only your current relationships, but also the future ones. Abortion hurts. I learned this the hard way. If there's one thing that I have come to understand, is that in life, you don't have to make all the mistakes yourself in order to learn the lesson. You can learn from the mistakes of others, and you can teach those lessons to your children and to your grandchildren so that they can choose a healthier path for themselves. Abortion has long-lasting effects for many. And oftentimes, those long-lasting effects are irreversible. Yes, it will hurt your body. The physical act of abortion will hurt your body for days, for weeks, for months, and in extreme cases, for years. It will hurt your heart when you fully grasp that your baby is a human being. Did you know that at just 22 days after fertilization, a baby's heartbeat can be detected? It will hurt your mind when recurring thoughts of the decision that you made conflict with your internal belief systems and with your values. This mental struggle is known as cognitive dissonance. It is a psychological disturbance, and abortion is linked to higher rates of mental health challenges compared to those individuals without a history of abortion. Abortion will also hurt your relationships. Many who choose abortion keep it a secret, whether out of denial or guilt or shame. But the weight of secrecy creates psychological distress that can lead to anxiety and depression and isolation. And this isolation often strains relationships. Most significantly, abortion affects your soul. Regardless of your faith, you were created in the image of God. This means that you, like every other human being, including your unborn baby, carry the spirit of the living God within. Your spirit longs to reconnect with the spirit of the living God. When you make choices that harm your heart, harm your mind, harm your body, you grieve God's heart, and in turn, you wound your soul. I was 14 years old when I had my first abortion. It took almost 2 decades for me to realize how much that decision had impacted my life. It silenced aspects of my voice. It caused me to have low self-esteem in areas of my life, though I kept it very hidden. And it led me to make more unhealthy decisions, taking me down a path that was essentially a downward spiral. It prevented me from my ability to receive God's love and to live in the freedom that He created me to live in. Thanks to the Kingdom Alliance community, I was able to rediscover my voice and speak to transform, not only myself, but also those around me. Yes, abortion does hurt, but healing is possible. And the key to unlocking abortion healing is to create a space where you allow yourself to safely process the thoughts and feelings related to the experience that you had. God is in the business of restoring lives and redeeming past mistakes and bringing purpose through the pain. So here's the good news. Psalms 147:3 tells us, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. No matter how deep the pain or how long the journey, healing is not only possible, it is a promise. Just as choosing a lifestyle of purity, regardless of your history, is a restoration of what once was, so too is healing after abortion. It's never too late to reclaim that which was lost and to allow God to renew your heart, mind, body, soul, and relationships. 2 Corinthians 5:17 reminds us, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. Just as a generation is shaped by the choices we make, we, you and I, have the opportunity today to rewrite the narrative, not just for ourselves, but for those who come after us. Let today be the day we choose a path of wholeness, healing, and redemption. May we rise up as a people with clean hands and pure hearts, walking in the fullness of life God intended. God bless you.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Mirtha, again, for your vulnerability and transparency and such a powerful message. And I'm so glad that you refound your voice so that you can be a voice for the voiceless, both the unborn and the parents, to know that there is healing and hope. Wow, I don't know. This is just blowing my mind of all the different stories, but all the powerful places of influence that God is positioning his daughters to advance his kingdom and to impact lives. And you might be listening today, you think, well, what difference will it make when I tell my story? A big difference. Just as you may be feeling the impact today as others share their story, your story is meant to impact as well. And so we're going to close out here today. We've got a few more things left, and not holding back anything more. We are going to introduce our next speaker, who is Ruby Cole Ellis. Now, you heard her on the panel, and you're going to hear her as a woman who is a businesswoman, a designer, a business coach, originally from Guatemala, and has now moved to Canada for the last 11 years. She's a passionate woman who empowers and teaches women how to manage life and work while business partnering with God. And she's also a new mom of twins. She hit her first $1 million valuation with her first startup at only 25 years of age. So the things she's going to tell you today are not just theory, they're actually experiences that she's had, but also what she teaches others to do as well. She was named Businesswoman of the Year by the Sylvan Lake Chamber of Commerce in 2021 and is a proud Kingdom ambassador. She's a multi-passionate owner of a design studio that focuses on experience design, a financial planning firm that specializes in children's investment, and a business coaching practice that specializes in bootstrapping. So welcome to the stage, Ruby Cole Ellis.
Thank you. I would like to make this very interactive, if possible. So I have tried literally using 5 devices today, and they all seem to be crashing. So I don't know, the enemy doesn't want some real goals to be made and happen today. So if you can hear and see me okay, can you please put it in the chat? I'm monitoring in a different device. I just want to make sure that everybody's good to go. And for this workshop, it is a little bit more interactive. I would like us to kind of shake things up and get our dreamers going on and kind of use that inspiration that we've heard all this afternoon for these amazing ladies. I mean, can we just put it in the chat again? These ladies have been crushing it all day. And so I would like everyone to please have a notebook or some pen and paper, okay? And I also want everybody to just take a deep breath in and exhale. And let's activate our dreamer. So today I want to talk about bootstrapping. I don't know if you
we have maybe lost
heard
Ruby.
about the term, but it is kind of mainstream. You've kind of practiced of pull oneself. Oh, did I got off? Did I got cut off?
No problem. You were frozen for
Okay.
just a brief moment, so continue on.
Okay, good. Like I said, there's some things going on today because I've been using like 5 different streams. Okay, perfect. Okay, so bootstrapping is nothing but to pull oneself by one's straps. That's kind of what it stands for, what it means. And pretty much it means to self-fund. And so it's a fancy word, a trendy word that is getting used, by all sorts of influencers. But pretty much what it means is for a self-funded startup. But when I acquaint myself the bootstrapping queen, I coined that term because I wanted for people to understand that it's not just businesses or startups that you can bootstrap. You can self-fund everything. So I want today to inspire you to what is something that you would like to self-fund. And note that I'm not saying just fund or get or a coin. I'm talking about self-funding. So I want to give you your power back. Of what would you like to self-fund? This can be a dream vacation. This can be a new home, a new vehicle. This can be an expansion of your current business. This can be maybe being able to participate in Kingdom Alliance or join a membership or take a course that you've always wanted. And so what is something that you would like to self-fund? And let's take a couple minutes, well, not minutes, let's take a couple seconds to think of what is something right now that we really, really would want to have before the end of this year. Okay, so let's think of something we would like right now that we would like before the end of the year. So today is March 1st. What would we like to have by December 31st? And if some of you are brave enough, please put it in the chat. If not, that is totally okay. But I do want you to write it down. Okay, what is the first thing that comes to mind? And there are many ways that you can self-fund or bootstrap. And I kind of divided mine in my bootstrapping course, Bootstrapping 101, which is part of the Kingdom Alliance membership actually, into 3. And so there's 3 different kinds. And so the first one, write this down, it's called a reactive approach, or you can also call it calculated debt. And nothing that it stands for other than usually when an owner doesn't have enough funding for their business, they might need to be able to lend. They might have to lend from maybe an investor or maybe from the bank or a credit card. And yes, that is true in the grand, scheme of things. That is the correct term for reactive bootstrapping. However, I don't want you to go and get a loan at all. What I do want you to think is of the slogan, raise capital. Okay, so let's just think about that, raise capital. And so for the first type of bootstrapping, we need a budget. So we need to be very clear of how much money it is that we need to raise. And so for being able to bootstrap something on the reactive way, we will need to create a budget. So if you are hoping to bootstrap, for example, a vacation, we're going to need to have a budget of how much that's going to cost us. So let's get into it. Okay. So what is going to be the cost of flights? What is going to be the cost of car rental, hotel, food? Are we going to go to any parks, or are we going to go to any museums? Are we going to get any souvenirs? So let's write down all of that down. If we're hoping to upgrade our education, okay, what courses are we going to need? Is there a monthly fee, or is it upfront? Like, let's go and research and create a budget. Okay. Now we're going to go to bootstrapping method number 2, which is the proactive approach. And this is actually one of my favorites. And so with this one, normally in the traditional business world, we talk about contributing personal equity, or kind of just putting some like savings that you might have, or if you have an inheritance kind of thing. So I like to think of the slogan of this type of bootstrapping as using your own resources. So let's have that in mind. So using your own resources. And so I call this the hidden treasures method. The reason that I really like this method is because it activates our gratitude radar. I call it a gratitude radar because it's almost like having some tinted glasses that honestly, you can almost see now different things. I always associate it with people that are colorblind, and you were able to just put these magic glasses and all of a sudden you're like, what? There's all these other colors. And so I feel like the hidden treasures method allows you to see things that maybe were there all over the place, and they were just probably there for so long that we almost forgot that we had them. And so when we activate our gratitude radar, we also activate, I feel like it activates our creativity. And so when we have a grateful heart, I feel like we vibrate in a different vibration. And this has nothing to do with being woohoo or anything like that. We're just talking from pure science and energy. When you are at a low vibration, we don't feel that great. When we're in a high vibration, we feel great. That's just facts. There are people that go into a room and literally it just seems like they brighten up the space. Well, they're very high vibe. And there's also people that enter a room and all of a sudden you don't feel that great. Well, they probably are operating from a low vibration. And when you think about people who operate in a low vibration, they usually complain a lot. And they also don't have that kind of thankfulness, gratitude that just radiates through them. So let's just keep that in mind. Hidden treasures. We're going to get back to that. And then I want to talk about the third method, which is the net zero method. And with this one, I kind of call it like the traditional approach of bootstrapping. So you will hear a lot of businesses when things are getting tight or when they need to create an expansion, the first thing they'll do is they'll cut expenses, right? And so you'll hear about like, if it's governments or agencies are like, oh, they're starting layoffs or they're cutting expenses. Well, the truth is that it actually is a pretty effective method. Like being able to save from places of things that you might not need or resources that you're overspending in is a great way to raise capital. And so when we were talking about slogans, for me, it's save, save, save. So saving is a fantastic way of self-funding. And so again, let's just think about it. And so to recap, the reactive one is make a budget. That's the slogan. The proactive one is hidden treasures. And the net zero is save, save, save. So just keep those in mind. Okay. So after that, I want us to be able to change our vibration and change our vibe for this afternoon. And I know that our moods have been lifted. I mean, how inspiring have all of these ladies been. And so I feel really good. I don't know about you. And so now let's piggyback on that energy. And if you're okay with that, I would like everybody to put their hand in their heart and like to start feeling those heartbeats. Let's start feeling alive and kind of create that co-creative power to be able to access what the Lord wants for us. Because here's the thing. I believe your desires are safe guidance. I don't think, or I refuse to believe that God put all these big dreams and desires in your heart only to tease you with them. He probably wants you to have them more than you even know. And so let's kind of activate kind of like that co-creative power. Let's feel alive for a second. And let's start imagining, how would it feel to have that one thing that we jotted down? So if we're talking about an upgrade for a vehicle, for example, I am saying that from a place of we need to upgrade my vehicle because Lisa is right, we had twins. And so now we have no space in my SUV, so we need a bigger space. So bear with me, I have that in my mind. But, let's think about maybe that dream vacation, going to Europe. You've always wanted to go. Maybe you want to go to the beach. Maybe you want to take your kids to Disneyland. If it's a business, maybe it's opening a new branch. Let's just kind of raise that vibe. How does it feel to have that one thing already ours? How does it look like? How does it smell like? How do you feel? How are you talking? What are the things you're doing in that vacation getaway? In my case, like, how does it feel to have no cramped space in that? And so now that we're kind of tapping onto that feeling, let's kind of use those 3 methods, okay? And so for the first method, I want you to free. It's actually logged. Okay, there we go. I'm back. And it is part of the Kingdom Alliance. And so if you want to access a 24-hour sneak peek, talk to the person who invited you today, okay? So we're going to first create a budget. So I want you to jot down kind of like a low budget and then a high budget, okay, for whatever it is that we're wanting. So if, for example, we need to, I don't know, upgrade a car. So what would it be kind of like a low end that would still satisfy all the things that we need? And what would be like our dream version, like absolutely top notch, going out of the park? And then let's create an average of the two. And so that number is what I call our magic number. And it's important to keep that in mind because all of a sudden you're going to start seeing that number in a lot of places. And I think it's really important that we kind of have that kind of almost like thermometer where we can see how close we are to that magic. The second thing that we're going to do based on our proactive method is to create a hidden treasures list. So with the hidden treasures list is I want you to kind of go through everything that you have. What are things that you don't need? And by that, I mean, I need you to go to every single closet. I want you to go through every single drawer. I want you to go through your junk email. I want you to go through your archive email. And I want you to kind of start looking at hidden treasures. Are there any things that you can sell or flip or exchange? Is there any money that we've left kind of somewhere there? I have so many stories of clients of mine doing the hidden treasures method and literally coming up with money. It seems out of thin air, but it was always there. For example, I had a friend of mine. She was a bridesmaid in Cuba for a wedding. And all of a sudden, she was doing the hidden treasures method. She found this little clutch that she used. She totally forgot. She's like, okay, perfect. I'm going to sell it. I'm probably going to recoup like $50 out of it. And while she was trying to empty it, she realized that she had some cash in there. So she had $500 that she had gotten as an emergency fund, and she had it on that clutch. And she had forgotten about it. Like this wedding was like 7 years before. And all of a sudden, she came up with that money. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the exchange rate, like that was pretty good money right there. I've had people sell things that they don't use or need. I've had people mine who said that actually she had a little bit gradual look for her. So try the hidden methods. And so please
Oh no, I think we have lost Ruby again. So, Ruby, when you come back here, I'll bring you back on the stage. So, I'm just going to take this opportunity to, I mean, I love that concept of hidden treasure. Let me know in the comments if you have ever had that happen to you. You went looking, maybe you're going to sell something and you realize, oh my goodness, I didn't know this was here. This happened to me actually just recently. And I discovered that, again, there was money in places that I didn't realize. Okay, we're having some technical difficulty. And Ruby, okay, I'm good. I'm I I brought myself on here. I'm also having some technical. All right, let me just. Oh, she's back. She's back on a different device. Yeah, let me know. Okay, we are having some issues. I see that $50, Christine, yes. All right, you're back. Take the other one off.
to find those treasures. Oh man. Okay. Well, I'm almost in the last little bit, so I'm not gonna take much of your time. Hopefully, you can still hear me. I think like it's attacking everywhere, but hopefully you can still hear me. But the last one is the net zero one. So I want you to make a list of anything that is not a necessity, a priority, a want, or is redundant. And I did this exercise actually with my husband, and we found out that we were both paying for Netflix and we were both paying for Disney Plus. And so I literally, like, how crazy is that? Like, we were both thinking the other one that we were doing it, but then turns out we were both doing it. On top of that, we found now a new system where actually includes everything like Netflix, um, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, and all sorts. So we were able to actually condense all of those. So not only with the double ups that we had, but then we were actually able to fully take out that streaming service altogether, because now we have one payment that actually takes everything else. And so I think we calculated it was something like $75 a month that we were able to, cut just by doing something as simple as this. So again, let's do the net zero method and see where we could cut off little expenses. And so whenever you're saying I can't afford it, so if you're thinking about joining the Kingdom Alliance membership, if you're thinking about upgrading something and you say I can't afford it, I want to challenge you and think of me and think of the 3 methods before saying I can't afford it, because there are always ways that we can be smart with our resources. I do believe that the Lord completely and totally loves stewardship. I mean, the parable of the talents is one of my favorite examples, but I do believe that he will reward you to be able to be creative and then be resourceful, and to be able to kind of take that accountability and that activate that co-creative power that he appointed you. So anyways, thank you so much for your time. I hope that you're able to do my full course. Like I said, it's part of the Kingdom Alliance membership. Or if you want to connect, if you have more questions. And thank you for the opportunity, Lisa. And sorry for all the tech problems.
No problem. Thank you for persevering as well and for sharing with us your wisdom and experience. Hasn't this been an amazing day? So much wisdom, so many nuggets of truth and really strategies that we can implement. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pumped up. I'm feeling encouraged. I'm feeling empowered. And I want to share with you that if you're listening today, and if there's something that resonated with you and you say, you know what, I want to do that. I want to be a part of that. I want to be in that community. I want to take that course. Then we want to give you a gift. We want to give you a gift of an experience to come in and explore whether or not this may not be for you, whether or not the courses that are included in Kingdom Alliance may be the things that you're looking for, whether it be to bootstrap your business, your nonprofit, or a course to help you be on camera and to have confidence on camera, or to speak on camera, to put together a message that's clear and concise, or to do social media strategy, or to be able to find your purpose, or just simply to grow in your relationship with the Lord or with your spouse, or to heal from hurts in the past. Whatever it is, there are so many resources to help you be who God has called you to be and to do what God has called you to do so that you can have the impact that He's called you to affect on the earth. And so I want to invite you, if you have found value today, to put it in the comments, post it on social media, reach out to the person who invited you and ask them for that gift if they don't already follow up with you. And I want to leave you with a quote today, because in all of this, we are on a journey of really advancing the kingdom wherever God has us and being a voice that brings healing, that brings transformation. And one of my favorite authors, he's also a pastor, is Erwin McManus, or Erwin Raphael McManus, to be complete in his name. And there's two quotes I want to leave you with. One is, this is from a book called 7 Frequencies of Communication. And he said, the miracle of human communication is that it connects us to one another and allows us to move together into a shared future. And you've heard this talked about today, how when we connect with the right people that we allow to speak into our life and that allow us to speak into theirs, we move together in the direction that God has called us to in our own unique way. And yet we are empowered and enriched by those connections. And actually, we need those connections in order to fulfill the call of God in our life. And this last quote is one of my favorite quotes. When you live up to your greatness, the whole world is made better. The world cannot afford for you to choose average or easy. So don't settle. Don't settle for the very best that God has. Don't settle for less than the very best that God has for you, because the world is waiting for you to step into your purpose and to show up and be fearless and courageous, knowing that God is positioning you to be a voice of influence. So I want to bring every one of these ladies to the stage right now. So get ready. I'm bringing you back up. And just thank you all. Carla, I think we may have lost Ruby. And of course, Teresa is not here live. So I got everybody else. Awesome. Ladies, thank you so much for what you shared today. Thank you. Such richness. And I want to say, those of you who are listening, share this live stream, share the replay, share it over and over, go back and listen and write down the nuggets of truth. Maybe you were driving when you were listening. Listen to the replay. I guarantee each one of these ladies deposited something that will help you become more effective and more of who God has called you to be. It was powerful, powerful. Thank you, ladies, so much. Love you all. And make sure to reach out to the person that invited you here today so that they can give you a free gift to experience not only the community, but also the rich resources to help you become all that God's called you to be. Bye, everyone. As you're listening today, you may have felt prompted to say, I want to become a much better speaker. I want to be able to speak with confidence, clarity, and transformational impact. I want to invite you to check out the link in the comments below, wherever you're listening to this. Your voice is an instrument of transformation and needs to be heard. So let it be heard.